My name is Dominique Mohammed. I'm 29 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon. And this past year, I faced and defeated one of the toughest battles that I've ever faced in my life. When I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 4. I'm gonna bring on fellow cancer survivors to show you guys not only that you can beat any cancer, but that you can beat your zombie, whatever that is in life.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Today I have a really special guest with me, Miss Katina Wilson. She's a singer, entertainer, producer, all-around entrepreneur and business owner. So I'm super excited. She has an extremely inspiring story on her journey of overcoming cancer. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
I know this is the second time we
That's
run it back, so it's all good. So I want to start today a little differently. I want to start with, you've gone through this journey. I want to hear what kind of advice you would give to somebody on overcoming any kind of challenges in their lives.
Okay. So just to give the advice, like your show is labeled like properly to encourage people, but I would say be a beast about your health. It can be very discouraging when you learn of a diagnosis of cancer. I mean, I know that there are, many different type of, what do I want to say, treatments in place now that we're getting better at treating it, but it still, can be discouraging because the first thing that a lot of people think is, I may pass away from this disease. So you have to be active about it. You have to be proactive about it. You have to make sure that you're advocating for yourself and that you're fighting for your health. So I would say find something every day that encourages you to fight for life.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. And so I want to kind of touch, so this has been coming up in a lot of my episodes, is advocating for yourself. Especially you, right? We are Black people in this world, in America, and you are a woman, right? Like, kind of touch on the point of advocating for yourself in this space, getting a diagnosis, speaking with your doctors, and what that kind of looks like.
Okay, so I will say, don't go with the very first diagnosis that you receive. It's very important for you to get other opinions. Like myself, I went down to the City of Hope just to get a second opinion about the condition of my diagnosis. So if you have insurance, I usually tell, especially young people, if you have the opportunity to choose between an HMO or a PPO, go with the PPO, because that's going to open up different avenues for you. It will allow you to go out of the city. You don't have to be in a specific network to receive the treatment. So I would say get as many opinions as you need to get, find out, talk to other people, find out, who's recommended to do this type of treatment, who's the best. Do your research, Google some of the doctors that are in your city. So those are some of the things that I did. So I would definitely suggest that to anyone that's going through this journey of breast cancer.
Okay, yeah. I totally agree with that. I've had plenty of situations where I've gone to get second opinions. Like most recently, I have what's called necrosis in my hip. And for you guys that don't know, necrosis is when you aren't getting the right amount of oxygen and blood flow to a certain part of your body. And in my case, it's my hip. It's due to, the doctors say, because of all the treatments that I've been through. I've gone through 2 bone marrow transplants now to date. And so because of that, I was feeling a lot of pain in my hip. And so I went to a doctor eventually. It showed up on a PET scan, and the oncologists were not very concerned about actually being cancer, but referred me to a hip doctor that had experience in oncology as well, and he said, you have what's called necrosis. And he immediately said, oh, you need a hip replacement, and we could do it right now. We should start right now. And I'm thinking, okay, right, I'm 30 years old. I'm more active than a lot of people, right? I'm working out, I'm lifting just about as heavier than I've ever lifted on my legs right now. No way I need a hip replacement right now. I'm snowboarding, like no way. I'm just feeling a little pain and I'm trying to understand what's going on. So in that sense, I went and got a second opinion. I talked to my doctors in Oregon, and they told me exactly what I thought. Oh no, you don't need a hip replacement right now. You should wait. Because if you don't know, if you get a hip replacement, it starts to wear and tear and runs out. So in about 20 years, I would need another one. So the doctors recommended, hey, you should wait. You should push it out as long as you can, especially if you're living a very comfortable, active life, and then reconsider when that time comes that it's so uncomfortable for you to do normal things.
Right.
So I totally believe in you. When you say, always get a second opinion.
Absolutely.
Oh, and advocate for yourself, right? Don't just take, like, they're doctors, they have education, they have experience, right? But they are human beings.
They are.
They're not, they make mistakes too.
They do.
And it's not their life that they're doing procedures on. It's your life.
Correct.
So you should feel comfortable with moving forward with whatever that suggestion is, because it's just a suggestion, So I really believe in that. And so kind of explain, so you had breast cancer. What was it like getting diagnosed with breast cancer?
So being diagnosed, like I said, it can be very discouraging. But through the journey, I found out that it actually runs on both sides of my family. So through the process, my doctor she tested me for the BRCA gene, and which is basically taking a look at your family history to see who's had the breast cancer. And unfortunately, I have had a couple of aunts that passed on both sides. I've had cousins that have survived breast cancer as well. So it's actually something that's in my gene. Excuse me. But even with that being said, you still don't think that it's going to happen to you. Why me? Why did it happen to me? So those are some of the things that run through your head. But like I said, it's good to find out your family history, know your people. If you're not familiar with your family, get to know your family tree, your family history, who you're related to. I think what was it, Angelina Jolie or something like that. She actually had the BRCA gene, and before it developed to breast cancer, she decided to get a biopsy get both of her breasts removed.
Wow.
Before it even developed into breast cancer.
That's
so
next
that's
level.
That's also an option, But yeah, I found out that I had it on both sides of my family. So unfortunately, that was my diagnosis.
Right. And what stage was it when you were diagnosed?
She wanted to put me at stage 2, but because of the size of the tumor, I was actually diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
Okay. It's interesting how they stage out your diagnosis. Like for me, I was technically stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was only because I had a bunch of bulky cancer in my chest, but then there was some cancer that was below my diaphragm that changed it, like you said, from stage 3 up to the next stage.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what had happened with me. Cool. And so when you were diagnosed, how did your family, how did your friends feel? How did they all take that and maybe help support you in your journey?
Well, I will say my mother was my biggest supporter. She was there every step of the way. She asked a lot of questions because, like I said, at one point I was so super discouraged about the diagnosis, and I just didn't know how to approach those questions because I was myself confused as to, how I even came up with this disease. But my mother, like I said, she was there every step of the way. She asked the questions. She drove me down to the City of Hope. She was there for me during the recovery as well. So what I will say to other people, some people may not have that type of support. They may not have, family that could do that. But get in groups. There are groups of people that are going through similar issues as you or similar diagnosis as you. So you want to definitely get a support team. I think it's very, very, very important because you don't want to slip into, depression.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think the support is big, and similar to you, my mom was one of my biggest supporters, obviously being my mom. And she helped me through so much. She's a problem solver type of person. And so she's always trying to figure out what do we need to do to take the next steps to move. She wants all the information. So she's asking way more questions that I'm even asking, and she's going to every one of my doctor's appointments and asking, well, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that?
Right.
And I'm more like, I think about it a little bit differently. I'm more of like, give me the information I need in order to act on it. Right? I don't need to know what if this happens or what if that. We can kind of cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
And she's more like very calculated. She wants to know all the information. And so she asks more questions, which is good to have more information. It can never be bad to have more information on and being aware of what's going on.
Exactly.
And so that was her role through this whole, which was extremely helpful because then she would ask questions that I might not have thought to care about or ask about, and it actually was beneficial. But like I said, I'm more like hands off, like just tell me what I need to do. Let's just attack it. I don't care what the chances are of what we're doing. I don't care what the possibilities of this not working. I want to know what this is, how it can work, and let's focus on that. That's like my mindset in this whole thing and what I try to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's cool. And kind of like backtracking a little bit to relate to you on your family, understanding your family and where you come from. It was hard. For me in that aspect, it's extremely hard because my mother was adopted.
Okay.
And so I don't know a lot about my mom's actual family history, right? I know about her adopted family that's actually not blood. Those are technically my relatives, right? But that would have nothing to do with my actual DNA as far as history. And so for me, like, my cancer was not hereditary at all. There was no, but again, I don't know, right?
True.
So that's part of it too. And it's so corny, man. They can't tell you how you get cancer, even though I don't know if they know or not know, or, it's so weird how everybody seems to be getting cancer. Everybody I know, I ask everybody, you can ask random people, have you or anybody you know had cancer, or right? And everybody knows somebody that's had cancer, and it seems like it's more and more. Like for me, I had cancer when I was 19.
Wow.
And right, like you said earlier, you never think you're gonna get cancer till you get it. And
so true.
It is really crazy. Because even when I first was diagnosed, the doctor that I saw, it was an urgent care doctor. I didn't have a primary care at the time because I was here in Vegas and my coverage was still in Oregon. So I was still covered under my parents. And so I'm with the urgent care doctor. He's looking at me, he's talking to me. He asked me, like, do you want to know my honest opinion? And I said, yeah, I want to know your opinion. I want to know what you think. And he says, you have cancer. He straight up told me, you have cancer. He couldn't diagnose me because we hadn't done any biopsy, any actual tests. He hadn't got results, but he knew. And I'm 19. I'm with my parents, right? I'm like, no way. There's absolutely no way I have cancer. I'm healthy. I've been an athlete all my life, and he was absolutely right.
And that's funny because I have a similar story for that. I went to the emergency room. I can't remember exactly what I went to the emergency room for, but I did go to the emergency room. And I had already told my mom, that one of my breasts seemed to had been swelling. And I didn't know what was really going on. But at that point, that doctor did run some blood tests for something. And he was like, I want you to go and see your physician because I think you might have cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just kind of blurted that out, and he, you know, was like, you may have cancer. But I had been reporting to her, you know, Mom, my breast is swollen. I don't know what's going on. And she was like, yeah, we need to go get that checked out. And come to find out that was what was going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's similar. Like I had my lymph node was swollen,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to my chiropractor at the time and tried to have him rub it out, which led me. He was like, "No, you need to go see a doctor."
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. I had been similar to you. I had been reporting to my mom, "Mom, I'm tired for no reason."
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
I'm 19, so I'm just going to college and just working out. I really got no responsibilities. I might have like a part-time job or something like that, you know? And I'm just like, Mom, I'm tired for no reason. And me being an athlete, I always am in tune with how my body is feeling.
Right.
Like, am I sore today? Am I tired? Right? Because I'm also always doing a lot of stuff too. I'm kind of like a high energy type person.
Okay.
Right? So I'm trying to get a bunch of stuff done. And I was reporting to her, yeah, like, man, I'm tired for no reason. And so I did a test on myself. I made sure I got really good rest the night before. I skipped my workout the day of. I would usually like go work out and then go to my classes. My classes probably weren't till like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And so I skipped my workout, kind of like slept in, just went to my class leisurely, and then was still feeling tired for and I had just done a 1 hour class that day.
Wow.
You know, and I called my mom like, Mom, I'm still tired. This is kind of weird, and it still hadn't all registered in my mind. You know what was going on.
Right.
Another side effect I had I was getting night sweats. I was getting really bad night sweats.
Okay.
And if you never had cancer, you don't know what a side effect of cancer is, right? You just think these are weird things that are happening to my body.
Right.
I don't really understand what's going on.
Right.
You know, so those were some of the symptoms that led me to ultimately find out that I have cancer, which is just crazy.
Wow. And that is, but like I said, if you keep up on your health, you know, go get your semi-annual checkups, especially as a female. You know, do the breast examinations. Be aware of when you're, you know, changes in your breast, changes in your energy level, things like that, which can help you catch it quickly. You know, the sooner you know, then of course the better your chances of, you know, fighting the disease and overcoming it.
Yes. I have a good friend right now. His mother was actually just diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I feel really bad. You know, everybody hears cancer, they think, oh, you have cancer, you're gonna die, right? And that's not the case. And that's why I have this show, to show that, like, we beat cancer. Like,
Absolutely.
It does happen. It's definitely possible.
Yes.
And, you know, coming from that light and being able to understand that now a lot more, right? Because it's kind of like a stereotype. You hear cancer, right? And I told him, you know, that sucks. Like, I'm really sorry to hear your mom got cancer, but it is a good thing that they found what's going on.
Absolutely.
And it is a good thing that she has somebody looking into it and that understanding. That is right, and try to shed a positive light on that.
Right.
And be able to look at it from that perspective kind of changes how you think about it.
Exactly.
Right? Then you're like, okay, well, yeah, I did. And people, sir, you are a testimony. People beat breast cancer, right?
Every day.
And there's some people that have situations going on and they can't figure out or get a diagnosis on what's going on with their body. Or like, I have a friend of mine, Miss Cheryl. She had a type of cancer, like this rare type of cancer, and she was in the service, and so she was always getting blood work done, and it was never caught while she was in the service. It was never like pointed out because she advocated for herself, did her own research very diligently. I assume she's a very disciplined person because of some of her training and the person she is.
Yes.
And she was like, man, they should have been able to catch this when I was getting all my treatment, not my treatments, but all my checkups done while I was in the service. they should have been able to catch this. And I caught this myself, right? So that's an example of her advocating for herself. But then she had to go through, for 4 years, it took 12 doctors to get a diagnosis of what she had going on.
Oh.
And she, the whole time, she knows, like, something is going on, something is up. And you're telling me, no, nothing is wrong, or you're just, like, passing me off, right? Again, a black lady, and they're down in, we did the show in Atlanta, but they're down in, like, I think South Carolina is where they're at, more like Charlotte area, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was crazy, right? So, like, again, to my point, I told my buddy, it's a really good thing that they have found what you got going on.
Right.
Right, you found it at whatever stage you found it at. And it's good, like you were saying, you got to get checked up. It's healthy to go see a doctor.
And I will, just to kind of tag off of what you said, especially with women, it's very important. I mean, just tell them, hey, screen me for it. You know, it could be a possibility. Because sometimes they'll run tests and they're not looking for that. So they're going to, you know, pass right over it. And they're like, well, we weren't looking for that. You came in for this, and this is what we were focusing on. And so we didn't even screen for that. Just, you know, be bold enough to say, you know, test for it. Let's just, you know, humor me.
Right.
You know, let's test for it. Especially if you have a family history of breast cancer. That's something that you definitely want to bring up. Like, if I had maybe educated myself a little bit more, I probably would have gone the route of go ahead and check me out for it, because once you get it, you look at hindsight. What could I have done differently to prevent this thing from progressing so far? So even if you don't have a family history, because now we have this crazy food that's out here that's not really food, that's causing cancer. I mean, I think in California, I hate to bring this up, but in California, I think that they're posting, you know, signs in the McDonald's windows that tells you some of this stuff can lead to cancer, some of this food. So with that being said, you know, you might want to just go in there on an annual checkup and just be like, hey, screen me.
Right. Because no way you're too cool to go to the doctor.
True.
Right? And I understand it might be a little more old school and you might have been taught, like, you don't need to go to a doctor, you know, shake it off. And I totally get that, right? Like, I don't think you need to go to the doctor for every little scratch and scrape every little cough that you got.
It's true.
Right? I totally understand that. But no way you're too cool to get maybe an annual checkup.
Right.
And go see the doctor and ask them to check on this, that, and the other.
Exactly.
Because it could save your life.
It could save your life.
It could save your life. And to kind of speak on the food, the crazy thing is people still just eat McDonald's.
I had some McDonald's this morning.
Hey, and I love some McDonald's breakfast, man. Hey, I love some McDonald's breakfast, man. I think the biggest thing is to not, like, excessively do it.
Right.
Right. But dude, food and all the stuff that we consume is very poisonous. And I'm sure, like, for me, something that I've done and taken a lot more seriously since I got cancer 2 times. The second time I got cancer, I took my health a lot more seriously. Because the first time, and again, this is crazy, I got cancer and beat it and was like, oh, I'm good. I can keep doing everything I was doing. Like, I'm good. And I got cancer a second time. So I was like, yo, I have got to make some changes here. There has to be something I'm doing. I have to take control and responsibility of myself. I got to make a change because I can't get cancer another time. What if that's the time? You know what I'm saying? So something I've been doing a lot more recently is taking control of my diet.
Good.
And I'm looking at the labels. I'm, like, understanding the ingredients, making all kinds of changes in the proteins, the carbs, the fats that I'm taking in. And I've never done that before. I'm blessed. Thank you to my parents for some really great genes. And I've always been an athlete, so I'm always running around and in good shape. I ain't never had I can go eat some Taco Bell, go run for hours, you know, and it's never been a problem. And so it feels really good to take control of other aspects of your life in general. It's like a mental thing for one, but I'm sure it's also way healthier for me to be eating extremely cleaner. And I feel it in my body, in the way my body looks, and it's really exciting for me. And I'm 31 years old and I've never done this in my life.
Wow.
You know, I think the biggest thing is for my whole life, like I don't drink coffee. I just drink a lot of water. And as an athlete, I drink a lot of water because I just wanted to be hydrated. I was always trying to just be hydrated.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, my uncle or my basketball coach, he teaches us a lot. He was my basketball coach since I was in the 3rd grade.
Okay.
And he teaches us a lot about mental toughness and how playing sports is a lot more mental than just physical.
Right.
And so part of that mental thing and preparation is taking care of your body so that you can perform when we're going to tournaments. We're playing like 4 games in 2 days, 5 games in 2 days, right? So if you didn't mentally get your rest, if you didn't mentally do the things you were supposed to do, like drink all the water the week before leading up to, then you're going to cramp in the game. And he'd say that's a form of choking. You're not doing what you know you should be doing, right? And that's the thing also in life too, is people know what they're supposed to be doing. People know what's healthy. People know McDonald's is not healthy, right? And I'm sorry, I keep using that as an example. People know what is right and what is wrong.
It's true.
And then a lot of times they just simply aren't willing to do what they know they need to be doing for whatever reasons that they validate, for whatever that is to themselves. And everybody has their choice, and that's their choice, right? And it can be hard. I'm a really caring person, so I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of people, they don't know anything else, right? They're uneducated. And it's not, I can't say, I said this to my grandpa the other day. I said, it's not really their fault. He said, well, grandson, at a certain age, it is your fault. And I agree. But again, it's like, that's kind of all they know. That's all they was raised to do. Once you get to a certain age, your habits are a certain way, and you're really ingrained in it, and it's hard to be like, oh, I need to make this change.
It's true. I've been told we're all just a sum total of our life experiences. So if that's all you do all that you know. But as we get older, like you said, you need to educate yourself. You need to make the changes for your life. And especially if, you've been diagnosed with cancer, or you had to beat cancer and then you could possibly get cancer again, I could see how you should change. And that was another thing that just threw me for a loop, because at that time I was like in the gym all the time, trying to eat well all the time. And then I got diagnosed with cancer. I'm like, why? But then I found out that it was a part of my genes. So that's why I, probably came up with the cancer diagnosis. But it is important. We only get one body, and we need to do as best as we can, And like, even with me, like unfortunately, I also have diabetes. So with that, I had to start watching, because that could also lead to cancer. If you're not eating properly and you're always on sugar, you're doing the wrong things, then yes, if your numbers are not under control, that could definitely escalate to some other health issues. So our bodies are very important to take care of.
And it's interesting too, like how much sugar just impacts everything in your body.
It's poison.
And how poison it is.
It's poisonous.
And everybody loves desserts. Everybody loves some ice cream, some donut. I love it. I love it all. I love sweets, right? And cancer feeds off of sugar.
It does.
Carbs turn into sugar.
They do.
There's so many ways to get sugar in your body.
Right.
And it's
Alcohol.
like that on alcohol, and it's like that on purpose, right? And all of that stuff is addictive, right? So you take it in, and I saw a post. I'm always seeing posts because whatever, I'm on social media. I work on social media, but right, it said minimizing the intake of your kids' sugar in the first like 1,000 days of their life or something like that can make a tremendous impact on their health and what that does for them.
Believe it.
And like for me, like I try to eliminate as much sugar as possible. I try to, that's another change I made in my diet. I try to look at labels, look at what sugar, look at the added sugars. I still even eat a lot of fruits that probably have sugars in them.
They're
right?
fructose, right?
Yeah. And so, so I still get sugar. There's no way around it, you know, but I try to eliminate and minimize as much as I can of the sugars in my body. And it's really hard. It's extremely hard. And like you said, like even carbs break down into sugar. So like bread, noodles, pastries,
rice.
Right, I love rice. Right, I love rice. And so all of those things are stuff that I really love to do. And so in your life, it can be really hard, again, because those are your habits, that's what you know, that's what you've been doing. But also you have got to be like willing to make changes when you know that things are right or wrong, right?
It's true. And then also thinking about alternatives. Instead of doing white rice, maybe you could switch to brown rice. Instead of doing, you know, the sugar drinks, maybe you can do some that maybe have the alcohol sugar, which is like no, they call them sugar-free is what they call them.
Right.
But those can also be not so good. They cause other issues,
things.
but water is probably the best thing. And I had so much, I mean, just a problem with water. You know, I'm like, I don't like water. I don't want to drink water. But you know what I changed over to? Perrier.
Yes.
I would drink stuff like that. Sparkling water with just a hint of this in there or something like that would make it more exciting. So that I could get my water intake. I would put a lemon in my water. That helps. Making it ice cold makes it, makes you want to chug it. So those are things that just kind of encourage yourself to say, well, let me make some better change, you know, some better habit changes.
Man, I love me some sparkling water. I used to hate it. I used to hate it, and I took a trip to Europe, and they had some other brand. They got some different stuff out there, and I was drinking it the whole time, and I was hooked. Good. I was like, oh man, I love me some sparkling water now.
Yeah.
I smash some
I
sparkling
love it
water.
too. I drink it.
But the way I learned how to be hydrated was when I got cancer, honestly. Not even just being an athlete, but when because I had cancer, so I'm going through chemo, and I need to flush all this poison out of my body. So it's recommended. So I'm going through this cancer. I'm trying to do everything that's in my control that the doctors are telling me, and that was one of the things. So that's how I was educated and had an understanding of how much water I should be drinking every day, and that helps me immensely throughout the day, and just in general, it helps your whole body function. For so many ways, just to drink enough water. Right. And so let's go into a little bit, right? So you get diagnosed, you have a doctor, they're telling you to do certain treatments. What was your treatment plan? What did that look like, and what kind of treatments did you
Well, they definitely wanted to give me the chemotherapy. That was a big part. And I did tamoxifen, which is basically chemotherapy in a pill. So, but that, you know, had some side effects too, you know, because it affects like your short-term memory. And I found myself, you know, being affected by short-term memory loss, different. I mean, it's going to be one thing or the other, but you know, you have to trust your doctor. That's number one. And then you want to make sure that you're completing your treatment is the biggest thing. But like I said, I think I told you at one point I didn't really care for my physician. So, you know, I kind of switched over some other things. But like I said, you have to be comfortable with the person that's giving you the treatment. You have to feel confident that they're giving you the proper treatment. Like I said, get second opinions from other doctors. I think I shared with you that I got a second opinion from one of her colleagues as well. So I would say a third opinion. I had another opinion from him, like, is this the best plan? Should I be doing this? Is this something that you recommend? You know, and And it kind of helped because he was like, well, I would probably do this portion differently instead of you probably don't need that. You know, so it's good to get different opinions.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really good to, right, you should trust your doctor, right? Your life is in their hands.
Exactly.
And it could really make or break. But then just the simple kind of like synchronicity of hearing what your doctor's saying, you're agreeing with it, you trust it, so y'all are together on this, right? You feel like you're in this together, you're in it to win it. And that's like a big mental part, I feel like, of this whole cancer thing that is a extremely big deal. Because a lot of this is mental that you're going through, right?
Absolutely.
It is physical, right? Like you said, you had some side effects. I had side effects with the chemo. I was really tired. I would get nauseous. My hair was thin. Sometimes I was bald from when I was getting into my bone marrow transplants, right? So you have side effects, but then it's like a whole mental aspect, not just the physical of like, okay, I'm bald, I'm tired, I'm sick. How do I feel good about this? How can I look at this in a good light? How can I, feel like there's a light at the end of this tunnel, right? And be able to focus, get yourself to focus on that and doing things to still make you feel good. Maybe not feel good, but feel better.
Feel better.
And help, deal with what you're going through is extremely important. And like you said, I want to touch on is completing your treatment, right? Even because, right, you're doing your treatment. And I never knew this before I had cancer. You're doing your treatment and then you're getting scans along the way. And then eventually, right, treatments should work depending on your cancer and you'll be in remission. And so in your mind, right, it's like, oh, I'm in remission. I shouldn't go to treatment no more. No, that is not the case. You should not do that. You got to complete the treatment plan and see it all the way through.
Right.
And it's crazy in my mind. I never thought like, oh, I should stop at treatment. But I know there are people that think that. Like, oh, I'm good. I'm going to go ghost on my doctor now. That he helped me. Thank you, doctor. Bye.
Right.
And no, that is not what you should be doing. You should continue. Even I am 4 years out of cancer, right? I still go follow up with my cancer doctors every year.
Good.
And get a scan to make sure that I'm still good. And I'm sure, like I've heard from a lot of stories from people that it's always in the back of your mind. Like when you're dealing with your health or you have some type of something happen or go on with you that is cancer coming back. And for me, like I've had cancer twice. Like it did. I was in remission for 3 years and it came back, right? So I guess it's kind of, I just don't focus on it. And I'm kind of crazy, so I'm not like all people. So I don't expect all people to think like I do by any means. But I know it is, and that's a part of something that people have expressed to me that is difficult of being a cancer survivor is it going to come back? Right. Right?
It's a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's a lifelong thing. And right, I always try to look at it super positive, and it's given me a lot of purpose. It's given me a lot of purpose in my life that I had cancer, I beat cancer. It's given me something, it's given me a lot of knowledge about myself, a lot of self-knowledge. I've learned a lot about myself, like what I can go through. It's taught me a lot about the friends and the people that I can trust in my life, that I know that actually care about me. It's taught me a lot about what happens when I do get into like a dark place, what that looks like, right? When everything is going wrong, right? What's that Martin Luther King quote? True character of a man is not when everything is going right. I'm paraphrasing, but is when when everything's going wrong, right? Then how do you respond? Then how do you react? Right. Then how do you move forward and think about your life, right? And that's the true test and the true character of who you are.
And it's so true because so many people have been through different journeys. They've been abandoned, while they were sick. from people that they thought that would be there for them. And then they, it can put you in a very, very dark, frame of mind where you're feeling sometimes alone, like you're fighting this disease by yourself. But like I said, it's so important to get a support group. That is like number one. So that you can, talk about your feelings, you can share your feelings, other people can share their feelings, the things that they've gone through, where they can kind of relate to you to help you understand, that you need to be strong, you need to be advocating for yourself, you need to keep going, don't give up, just find a way every day, a reason to keep fighting. It's so important. Like my children, they were like my biggest reason to continue, because I'm like, well, what if something happens to me? What's going to happen to them? So that was my reason. Use those types of reasons to keep fighting. It's so important, because you think, the enemy can put things in your mind and you're like, well, maybe it's better if I'm not here. But with that being said, there are people that are, looking for you. People that want to see you, people that enjoy your smile, that enjoy your company. You may have children that are depending on you. You may have parents that love you.
Right.
So, like I said, it's very important to keep your mind frame healthy.
It's important to understand why you do the things you do.
Absolutely.
And there's the book, like there's that book, Start with Why, or I don't remember what the title is, but I think it's like a Simon Sinek book. And it really breaks down you understanding why you do things. And for me, I always say the reason why I do everything in my life is for the people in my life.
Exactly.
For my girlfriend, for my parents,
Yes.
for my little sister. I'm her bigger brother. I'm an example for her. You know what I'm saying? To make my parents proud.
Right.
For all the friends and family that supported me. Right, like it's for the people, for one, for people that are looking at me that I don't know, that follow me and see me that I don't even know that they're watching me. But I'm doing something, I'm trying to lead by example in my life, so that when they see me do something, they're like, oh, okay, I could do that.
They could be encouraged.
They can be encouraged. I could do that. And that's what the whole point of this podcast is. Right, and it's really big to understand why you're doing the things you do.
Right.
And that always, when your why is strong, right, you understand why you're doing things, then all the other reasons that come into your head, right, they're not strong enough to overcome that reason, and you'll find a way to figure out the things you want to do, because we as humans will find a way.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay.
We're getting towards the end of our time here. I want to ask you one more question before we get out of here, and then we can share where we can find you and everything like that. So what is the best advice that somebody has ever given you?
The best advice that anyone has ever given me is to be yourself in any room. Just be yourself. Don't be afraid to let your light shine. Don't be afraid to, elevate yourself. Don't be afraid to learn. Other thing. I can't say it's one thing. I have several things, but don't be afraid to learn new things, to open up yourself, because there's some talents and stuff that are hidden within you that you don't even know about, and you can unlock those things by becoming better. Just don't be in competition with other people, be in competition with yourself. Because the more that you grow, the more that you'll learn, the more that you will see. I didn't even know I had that within me. Like I shared with you that I created a hair growth product for cancer survivors, because I lost a lot of my hair too during the chemotherapy. And so I created a product that has helped other people that have lost their hair. So I use my kids as my, they were my protege, basically, like
awesome.
The ones that and my kids, their hair is just so beautiful now. All my sons, their hair are, way down here, and just, but those were the people that I worked on to see if this product would work. And so I like to look different all the time. So you'll see me, and sometimes my hair will be red, it'll be gold, it'll be orange, it may be, some streaks in it. That's what I like to do. But I didn't know that I had that within me. But I was like, I'm gonna do something, because at the end of the day, I don't want to look with plugs in my head everywhere.
Yes.
So I created a product for that. So you never know what's inside of you. You don't know. God may take you on a journey to get you to another place. And it's a lot of times that's to help other people.
And that's how I met you. We was at a cancer event. You were
Yeah.
showing off your hair product.
Absolutely. I
"Do
remember
you-"
that. Yes.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yes.
So amazing that you do that. That's really cool. And yes, being open to learning, I think is a really big deal. Because a lot of people, it's really hard because you have these ideas in your mind we're intelligent people, right? So you didn't do nothing with the objective or the thought that you were wrong, right? So if in anything you're doing, you did it because you thought this was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Right? You thought like, oh, this is the right thing to do, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Right? So if anybody ever tells you oh, this is wrong, right? Then now you're defending it. You're defending yourself, right? You naturally do that. We naturally defend our thoughts. Right? And if somebody tells you you're wrong, maybe they told you in a weird way, and I understand that could hurt your pride or your ego, right? But you have to be willing to listen and try and learn and being open to that, to hear people out and understand the facts, not the opinions behind it, not your opinion, because one piece of information could take everything that you thought you knew and flip it upside down, and everything that you thought you knew was a sheer opinion, and what's fact is what you were just told.
Yes.
Right? And so if you're open to that, you have to understand that, right, they just told me a fact. I should be excited about that. He gave me some information that I can apply. I know more now. I should feel good about it. That should not be a bad thing. Right? And if he did tell me something that I know is wrong, I should be excited about that too, because he told me I know that's wrong. I should feel good about that.
Yeah.
You should still be able to feel good.
Right.
So I think learning is a big deal. So that's all we have today on this episode of Beast vs. Zombie. Thank you so much for coming on the show again today. I really appreciate you. Please tell them where they can find you and everything that you have going on right now.
Okay, well, I just produced a comedy show, which that's going to be on some of the Roku channels. So look for that. It's called Katina Wilson Presents Spring Fling and Comedy Things. So look for that. Also, you can find me on Facebook at K Hair Grow. So K Hair Grow. And then you can find me on Instagram at Katina, Katina_Wilson, and the number 1.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so thank you. There you have it, Miss Katina Wilson, entertainer, singer, producer, entrepreneur, business owner, all that. And then before we get out of here, make sure you follow the podcast on all social platforms at Beast vs. Zombie, YouTube and Spotify. You can see the full videos of what we've done here. Check out the website, BeastvsZombie.com, and you can get some merchandise. All proceeds go to cancer research. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you for tuning in. Be a beast.
Thank you. Bye-bye.